Good afternoon and hello. Thank you, and it's an honor to be here today. My name is Lisa Young. I received my Doctor of Nursing Practice from the University of Iowa and my graduate master's and undergraduate nursing degrees from St. Xavier University. I have over 26 years of higher education experience, as well as 26 years or more as a nurse practitioner and functioning in various and multiple leadership roles, both clinically and in higher education. I've been active in accreditation, both at the specialty level of nursing and at the higher learning level. I currently am the CEO of Alex and Associates Health and Educational Consultants. Thank you. I'll start my slide today talking about the topic that I chose was graduate education and clinical trends, the history to horizons. And so I chose this because I thought of a way that I could kind of put all of my experience and what would be beneficial to the audience in which I was speaking in relevance to the program and the conference that was planned. So I chose these topics and tried to put it all together so that it may seem a little eclectic, but at the same time, you'll see where I'm going with it, and what I'm trying to do to bridge all of that together. Keeping in mind the conference is for program development as well as mentoring and those kind of things. So for full disclosure, I am a commissioner with the Accreditation Commission for Education in Nursing, as well as a peer evaluator. I have also served as a peer evaluator for the Higher Learning Commission. So this topic that I chose is supposedly what I'm trying to do is bridge the academic and clinical practice through a brief historical overview of nursing, theory, and application to clinical practice, and some of the current challenges that exist. There's a lot going on in our profession, and so I'm just trying to bridge all that together in one topic to kind of tell you, what we've gone through, where we're at, and where we're going. My objective is to provide a brief overview of the historical evolution of the graduate nursing education for minority nurses, to discuss the relevance of theory in the development of contemporary nursing practice, to identify programmatic and professional challenges related to advanced practice nursing education at the graduate and postgraduate level. So I put this slide in just reminding me of how nursing is to me. I started nursing when I was 16, and it's just been evolving and ongoing and, throughout my life. And so when we entered this profession, we all knew, or most of us knew, the opportunities and possibilities were endless. And it was like a horizon to us. The horizon is endless and beautiful. And so is the future of the doctorate in nursing practice. At least that's my view of it. And I think many of you would agree that the possibilities for what we can do are endless. So I started with just pulling together some historical information because our history is rich. There have been so many nurses of color that have preceded us and whose shoulders in which we stand on. So this is just an early timeline that I put just to kind of just put it all in perspective. And I wasn't trying to be like really inclusive of the whole history of women of color in nursing, but just kind of just giving a little brief overview of just some people that kind of made a difference as far as graduate education, or how we even got there, or how it all evolved. So there's been like it's evolved over time, but when you think about it, it's been a long time since some of these programs have come along. There was some research going out as early as 2015 on DNPs and DNP programs. And then the discussion started in the early 2000s. There was some research on it with the American Association of Colleges of Nursing. And the discussions evolved, and with the development initially of the first DNP programs, which began to come around and started to emerge. I was in kind of that first group of DNP graduates from my school, and they came out of the early 2007. I started in 2007. So as you can see from this diagram, over the years, how the PhDs have kind of leveled off, but the DNP programs have almost doubled over time. This data came from the AACN's DNP fact sheet from 2020. So it's relatively current data. So the theory. So theoretical framework has been some of the educational foundation of some institutions. Again, beginning with the mission and vision. The development of most schools have been built on history and on this mission and vision. And it's connected to the identity of the organization. So, again, depending on the population they serve, may guide how they develop their mission and vision and how they serve that population or a surrounding community. There's always some kind of foundational base. Mostly you'll see that when the faculty are on a tenure track, they may follow some theory or educational theory on how they move from one point or show that they have accomplished certain things as they progress at that institution along their tenure track, or if they're tenured. Programs and departments often are developed and should align through this mission of the university or the organization. So you start with your mission of the organization and their vision, and then the programs feed off and develop their mission and vision, and then the college, or either the college does, and then the program, or in some cases, if it's a college, the program will build off and develop or align with the mission of the university. The theoretical foundation provides an educational approach to developing not only the program and how they plan their end of student learning outcomes or their outcomes for their program, but also the strategic plan for its success. How you're going to accomplish what you need to for the success of the program. Establishing learning objectives, goals, and outcomes are all based on that. And I'm hoping you follow me, because it may sound eclectic, but I'm trying to pull it all together for you so you can see where I'm going with this. So again, we have usually a educational foundation. All of us have had one that we build on. Sometimes some schools and universities will put that educational theory in their syllabi, or it's discussed early on and established how the course will progress. Universities use those models to determine how faculty will advance through the tenure track. One common model that may be seen, and it's just an example. They have others. There's education models. Is Boyer, the Boyer model. We talk about discovery, discovery of information, then how you take that information is integrated, the teaching and learning that comes along with that, and its application. In our case, it would be the application to practice. And so, again, these are just one example of an educational theory. And as nurses in our programs, we often have a number of nursing theories that are developed. I didn't put any of those in here for the sake of time, And because there's so many, I just kind of, wanted to make reference to the fact that there is um, some educational theory that's the foundation, just as the university is the foundation. There's a foundation for the theory, and from that we develop our other theories. So the relevance of nursing. Nursing has similar theoretical relevance at the organizational level and is adopted by the program. So nursing has utilized theory and the work of theorists to refine existing theory, to guide and develop clinical practice and research. We use that sometimes to correlate different concepts. The like undergraduate does that. We do that at the graduate level, to define areas that need to be developed. We use that, the foundation for some of our evidence-based practice. And historically, nursing theorists have used nursing programs to test theory. So, they make an assumption, they use it, and then they develop the theory. And then we use those theories a lot within our DNP practice, or when we work on our capstone projects, we take some of those nursing theorists or those theories and we apply them and we use them as we do our research, to kind of strengthen them or to prove them that they can work in various places and environments and populations. I put this slide in just as another example of something that may guide how we develop our programs and curriculums. This is the core competencies. This was put out by the American Association of Colleges of Nursing. And there's one for our regular professional nursing education. But in April 6, 2021, the new Essentials for the Doctor for Advanced Nursing Practice came out. And basically it outlined some core competencies related to doctor, or I should say essentials. I shouldn't necessarily competencies, but competency essentials for graduate education as far as at the doctoral level. And then there was reference to different role specialties as they currently exist. And there's been some modification. There's been discussion about things such as hours, how many clinical hours are needed. And, this is just ongoing discussion, but this was published and just recently this year. With all of this going on, and this is just the normal development of curriculum and programs within the academic setting or in higher ed, there are some current program challenges. And we all have experienced them. If we're working in academia, higher ed, we're all experiencing that. One of the big things for nursing currently is the shortage of qualified nursing faculty. The population is aging, the faculty are getting older. Some are just, COVID caused many people to leave the profession, not only faculty, but also our young nurses end up leaving. You have curriculum modifications ongoing with the introduction of some of these new essentials that came out for advanced practice nursing education. You're going to see people modifying their curriculums. Not all people may modify it, but it's by choice. If they want to choose to stay with a particular organization, they will have to change to those competencies. But then you have others that may choose to keep their curriculum as is and utilize another body to review the quality of their programs. So again, but there's ongoing curricular modifications. meeting those DNP competencies. I mean, that, you know, like I said, that's going to require some changing. There's concept-based curriculums that are coming about. A lot of schools have changed, and they're, you know, we used to know that when people were returning to school, they would have their MSN, and then they would go to their DNP. You know, again, this was a practice doctorate. Now you're seeing more where programs are having the BSN and advancing straight to the DNP. We all have challenges, academic challenges, and I shouldn't say all, because there's some schools who have really big endowments. They have monies, they have research dollars, and they may not have some of the challenges as some of the other schools, but a lot of the minority schools do have challenges. And so funding to support programs, although a lot of schools did receive money during COVID, the overall impact of the pandemic on delivery of programs was difficult. They had to adapt different ways to deliver their programs in alternative forms. So a lot of schools had to, if they didn't have money, they had to use money to convert to high fidelity simulation and other things that provided students alternative virtual experiences, which they could not receive in the current environment as it exists during the pandemic. We also lost, remember, numerous staff, faculty, support. And again, you know, some schools did receive funding for higher learning, but most of the funding received at that time was basically used to kind of convert them and get them up to speed for conversion to remote learning. And so that's kind of what happened with that. So other areas that were impacting some of the clinical practice, education for students and faculty. And currently what's happening now is we have a lot of students who have not necessarily practiced very long, where we need them at the bedside, especially with what's happening now, but they're going back to school really rapidly. And the market for advanced practice nurses is kind of flooding with, I know I went to one of my colleagues' graduations, it was virtual, and they put out in one setting, I couldn't believe it, like 350 graduates. And so you think about, you know, where are these people working, or how are they getting their clinical experiences? And so this becomes an ongoing challenge. There are a lack of clinical sites. You know, even with the pandemic, for undergrad students, they weren't able to go into the hospital. And this is the same for, you know, graduate students. Some of them may have had their experiences at major medical centers and that kind of thing. So there have been a lack of clinical sites. Limited preceptors, really limited number of preceptors. I mean, we have a limited number of faculty that are able to teach in programs because of the aging of faculty and those leaving the profession. So in turn, we also have limited preceptors. Clinical costs have increased for many programs. The clinical costs being that, you know, used to be when you went to clinical, when you were going to grad school or your doctoral program, your school would find placement for you. Many students are finding that they have to find their own placement. And not only do they have to find their own placement for their rotations and clinicals, but they also may have to pay the preceptor for that. So a lot of discussion over cost, discussions related to the number of clinical hours and contact hours within various programs, you know, from 750 to 1,000. There's just discussion about that. And I don't know if you want to equate that quality and quantity are related, but there is some talk about increasing hours. Transition to practice, nurse residencies. Those are other areas that are being talked about or being developed as students transition into the professions and to their various professions. There's rapid professional changes within our healthcare and adaptation by the profession. I mean, we had to make major changes during the pandemic, and those changes had to be made very quickly. So all of these are things that are happening around us, and we just have to be ready for. And they are impacting our profession in many ways. But at the end of the day, after we have hopped through all those hurdles and hoops as faculty and or as newly graduated students, at the end of the day, when we finish that degree, we're done. And we get our degree or have our certification. And so I kind of threw a slide in there just because when you get your credentials, that's one thing I can say, you earned it and it's yours. So at the end of the day, once you're able to, navigate getting your preceptor and all those clinical hours and all of the changes that have happened in the healthcare system, as well as happening in our profession, at the end of the day, when we get that degree and when we sit for that certification, it's ours. And so I just kind of threw this slide in here just to say, it's your credentials, you earned it. And, and I put that in there because I know sometimes I see on some of the social media, I see new nurses out there and they're working and they're fairly new and they'll write their name and they don't seem like they know how to actually put their credentials behind their name. And so some people see people write them different ways, but your highest degree comes first. So I just kind of threw this in here because even though they have their doctorate degree or they've got their master's or whatever, sometimes they don't know how to write that. And so if you say the highest degree is earned, you put that first and then your licensure. And so any state designations or requirements, national service. So you put all of that. So I just kind of put that as a little slide to just kind of help the newbies kind of use their credentials appropriately. In summary, I just wanted to say that nursing is just continually evolving and it's evidenced by our history and the history of the people that went before us and the shoulders in which we stand on. The theory is still foundational for most academic programs and universities. They're mostly based on some kind of educational theory and the mission and the vision. And that's how, we try to align each of our programs. Theory application is applied in our research, our practice, program development, and is to support the educational and healthcare outcomes. The struggles of minority advanced degree nurses continues. There's an increased number of applicants that are seeking advanced degrees, advanced practice education, and we are continually being challenged by the number of faculty we have and ongoing clinical shortages. In the end, I think that it's important for nurses with advanced degrees or all nurses to be active and be active not only within the institution you work, but also active in policy, advocacy, and leadership is needed to maintain that DNP voice for those in which we serve. And I say that because we need to keep our people aware of what a DNP is, I remember many years ago, I was getting ready to write a grant, and they're so used to on the, some of the major federal organizations want you to have a PhD. And at that time, early on, when I got my DMP, they weren't used to seeing a DMP. And so we need to make sure that people are aware of the role we play in advocacy, clinical practice, and just being a trendsetter for our profession. And so there are a lot of research out there, but again, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I tried to tie this all together to say, where we're going, where we've been, and where we're going. And I really appreciate taking this time to talk to you today. Thank you and take care.